All of the content that I post is completely unedited. It is a raw format content, and if you guys cannot keep up with all of these videos, if you just want to watch the first 2-3 minutes of this video, and if you think that all of the stuff is boring, just close it here, because usually the content that I post is just to target the serious audience who want to understand the technicalities behind all of this whole web3 space. And again, if you're just out there to watch the first 2-3 minutes of this video or only the first video of this series, there is no point of viewing this video as well. You can close it right here. As most of you all know that I'm building my own Ordinals collection on Bitcoin, and for most of the people watching this video, they might think that NFTs and Ordinals are the same, whereas they are completely different. They are not the same. Again, you can compare the images, you can compare the artwork, but you cannot really compare the complexities that lie behind these images. If a certain image is being deployed on Bitcoin's blockchain, and if an image is being deployed or an NFT is being deployed on ETH or on Solana's blockchain, they differ by a lot. Now, there are many things that differentiates Ordinals from NFTs, because Ordinals are deployed on Bitcoin alone. They cannot be deployed on ETH, or they cannot be deployed on Solana, and same with NFTs. NFTs cannot be deployed on Bitcoin's blockchain. In this video, we will actually get to know what are the things that actually differentiates Ordinals from NFTs. But before we get into the main topic of this video, we will be knowing the backstory of NFTs, basically what actually made NFTs such a special thing, what actually is the big deal behind all of these NFTs, how they actually became some sort of an investable asset, and basically all of the hype around NFTs. We will actually get to know about all of that, and how some of these NFTs actually literally became a movement. First of all, what are NFTs? NFTs are basically known as the non-fungible tokens. Basically, that means that you can pretty much deploy it on any smart contract enabled blockchain. You can only deploy NFTs on the smart contract enabled blockchains like Ethereum, like Solana, or like all of these other non-Bitcoin blockchains that have a smart contract enabled in them. You can only deploy NFTs on these blockchains. You cannot deploy NFTs on Bitcoin blockchain, and that is why we have Ordinals on Bitcoin, which differs from NFTs, because NFTs can only be deployed via smart contracts, and Bitcoin unfortunately doesn't have the ability to deploy smart contracts on its own L1 blockchain, and that's why we have Ordinals on Bitcoin. Now again, NFTs are minted. There's a huge difference between minting an NFT, basically deploying an NFT via a smart contract, or just deploying a smart contract which actually stores the metadata. That means the image, the traits and attributes of these NFTs. They are usually stored off chain, but for Bitcoin is inscribed on a Satoshi. Satoshi is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin. Again, we will get onto this topic later on this video, but again, I want to show you guys that if you only talk about NFTs, or if you talk about Ordinals, they have a huge potential. Now, I know some of these guys, I know these Asian whales who are now getting into Ordinals. If you go on Twitter, they are usually texting in form of their own native language, which might be these Chinese or Japanese or Korean sometimes as well, and they are talking about Ordinals. You can go on Twitter and literally you can just type Ordinals there, or hashtag Ordinals, and you will see these Chinese or these Asian people talking a lot about these Ordinals. They are also deploying own collection of Ordinals on Bitcoin alone as well. But if you talk about NFTs had the hugest potential. Like, CryptoPunks were literally given for free, and I remember one of the CryptoPunks selling for over $10 million alone. Like, these CryptoPunks were like, the floor price of these CryptoPunks were like $1.5 million. The floor price of this Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT, which is the base NFT, which was then later on bought by like Snoop Dogg, like Eminem, and there was this guy named Stephen Curry, Post Malone, Justin Bieber, like you name it. The top influencers, the top KOLs, the top celebs, the top singers, the top pop artists, like everyone was buying these NFTs. They sort of became this essential thing that you will need to survive in at least the Web3 space alone. These celebs, everyone was buying these NFTs. They were sort of becoming these things that you will need if you want to exist online, especially on Web3 or on Twitter. Twitter also enabled this feature where you can actually prove the ownership of that NFT. Like, if you are the owner of that NFT, it will show on your profile as well. And I think that Telegram also enabled this feature. Anyways, they were actually becoming a movement. They were not only an investable asset, but this whole thing disrupted when people actually took all of these NFTs not from their artwork, or they didn't really care about what it was being launched on, or what it was basically what was the lore behind it, what was the narrative behind it, and what was the artwork. They were just buying it thinking that it is a good investable asset, and that is what completely disrupted the whole demand and supply gap. Because when most people are in something just to make money off of it, and there is no use case for that thing, you can say, like a use case can be acting as a psychological thing or acting as a community or something like that. And when there is no use case of that particular thing and people are just buying into something just to make money off of it, then that thing will eventually die. And that is what happened with NFTs. Now the NFTs that were like at a floor price of 100 ETH, 110 ETH are now being traded at only 10 ETH. But again, they are coming back. You guys will get to know this in the mid of 2026, when most of these NFTs right now will at least 4 to 5x from their price, and you will get to know what I was actually saying. And that is the major reason that I'm actually getting into Ordinals, because Ordinals will forever exist on chain. They will be inscribed on Bitcoin's blockchain, they will be inscribed on a Satoshi. That means that whatever happens, our footprint will always be there on the Bitcoin's layer 1 blockchain. That is the most historically significant blockchain out there. Anyways, now coming back to the topic, the NFTs versus Ordinals topic. Now NFTs are something which is the non-fungible tokens. They are primarily found on Ethereum or on the smart contract enabled blockchains, and also the functionality that they offer is that they offer great royalties, they offer great functionality through smart contracts, and you can also integrate them within these dApps itself, which means that if you are the owner of a certain NFT and if there is actually a game being developed and you want that NFT to be in that game, if you deploy it on a smart contract enabled blockchain. But if we get into the Ordinals are built on Bitcoin's layer 1 blockchain using the Ordinals protocol, which was, I think, released in 2020 or 2021. And data is inscribed. By meaning of inscribed, that means that literally engraving it on a Satoshi, which is the pseudonymous name of the Bitcoin's creator, which can be an individual, which can be a group, like that is a different topic. But again, which is inscribed or literally engraved on a Satoshi, which will exist forever. Like Satoshi is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin, and the functionality is simpler in terms of the functionality compared to NFTs, focusing on the digital ownership of inscribed content, which means that the content that we are inscribing, that the image or that NFT that we are inscribing on the Bitcoin's blockchain will forever exist if we deploy it on its layer 1, because now it is inscribed on a Satoshi, which is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin. Coming back to the storage, now if we get onto the storage of Ethereum or on Solana or all of these smart contract enabled blockchains, basically the metadata, the image files, all the traits, all the attributes, the rarity and all, they are usually stored off chain, with the NFT itself acting as a pointer to that data. Now most of these people who are coders or who are these devs, they know that what pointers are. They usually point out to a specific code or to a specific data in a whole file, you can say. And then if we get onto the storage of an ordinal, or which is deployed on a Bitcoin blockchain, the entire content of an ordinal, including images, text, etc., stored directly on the Bitcoin's blockchain. It is not stored off chain, it is not acting as a pointer, it is stored directly on the real deal itself, which is the biggest deal out there. Now most of you all might be confused on what is actually a sat or a Satoshi. Now there are a total of 100 million Satoshi in one Bitcoin, which is currently priced at $117,000 for just one Bitcoin. Now each Satoshi is representing almost like 0.701 Bitcoin, which is literally the smallest unit out there. Now this is the current price of just one Satoshi, which is almost like worthless in terms of USD. But again, it exists on Bitcoin's layer 1, and that is essential for us to deploy Ordinal onto a Satoshi itself first, which means that first we will be inscribing our NFT on the smallest unit of Bitcoin, which will forever exist on Bitcoin's blockchain. We will be literally engraving our image or the text file or anything we want to deploy on Bitcoin's blockchain. We will be first engraving it on a Satoshi. Basically, after we have inscribed our content on a Satoshi and we have paid for the inscription, and our Satoshi or our ordinal is now inscribed on Bitcoin's layer 1, it will become transferable and tradable as well, which means that now we have a NFT which we call ordinals on the Bitcoin's L1, which is the most historically significant and the most decentralized blockchain out there. That means that our ordinal will forever exist on Bitcoin's Bitcoin layer 1 after the inscription. It will be tradable, it will be transferable. You can view it on marketplaces like Magic Eden, which means that now you have deployed a much more decentralized artwork on the Bitcoin's layer 1 itself. All of these ordinals after the inscription will be viewable on marketplaces like Magic Eden. Now to transfer these ordinals, or to basically just receive these ordinals, you will be needing a complete separate ordinals wallet. For that, you will not be using your actual Bitcoin wallet which you use to just store or just transfer your Bitcoin. You will not be using that for the ordinals. For the ordinals, you have to create a separate ordinals wallet, which will be a topic for our next video. Anyways, I hope that you guys have actually enjoyed this video and you guys have received a whole lot of knowledge from this video as well. I just want to establish our own digital footprint on the actual blockchain itself, and I actually just want to build something on there, and that is the major reason that I have actually started this whole series to document all of my journey. Now, if you want to support me in this whole, you can say, my journey of building on Bitcoin, you guys have to follow me on Twitter. I will actually link my profile down in the description of this video, where you can just go ahead and follow me on Twitter as well. And again, if you guys have any sort of recommendation, you guys can comment that below, like if you want me to name the collection a certain way, or if you guys want me to design the artwork in a certain way, if you guys want to help me out building a Discord or a website, because I will be doing all of this myself from literal scratch, from creating artwork, from creating Discord, from like creating all of these things. I will be creating all of that myself alone from literal scratch. So if you guys want to support me, or if you guys have some sort of recommendation, you guys can come into my DMs at Twitter or comment down below as well.